Today is the 24th of August. We came back to the marina earlier than intended because of strong winds that were forecast. So instead of touring by yacht, we are touring by car today. We're off to Demri to go see the Myra ruins. And once again, Captain Roy is driving on the right-hand side of the road with a manual using his right hand. So we'll just take our time, get there in one piece. Let's get the scenery here. As you can see, this is a coastal road with a lot of switchbacks. Been on it before, on the bus, twice actually. We're not driving ourselves, but it is a very scenic route. En route to the ruins on the outskirts of Demri, we passed this rather impressive mosque. So we've arrived at Myra, and this is the theatre that we first see, and we're going to make our way up to the town, up further up, all the rock tombs, etc. Founded on the river Myros in the fertile alluvial plain, the exact origins of Myra remain unknown, since there is no literally mentioning it before the 1st century BC, when it was described as being one of the 6 leading cities of the Lycian Union, which was from 168 BC to AD 43. The other 5 cities being Xanthos, Chios, Panara, Patara, and Olympus. However, an outer defensive wall dates back to the 5th century BC. Also, detailed carvings and inscriptions are indicative of the city's Greek heritage, while the architecture of the magnificent amphitheatre reveals the Roman influence. Okay, so this is a trip around Myra, and this is the theatre that was built on top of the old theatre. So there's 2 theatres here. This area is the old one, and then they just built the new one on top of it. I don't know if we can see everything here. It's enormous. Apparently it used to seat 10,000 people. And then up in the distance you can see some more rock caves. It's just incredible, really. At one point in its history, Myra formed part of the Koine Greek-speaking world, the Hellenistic Greek spoken and written from the 4th century BC until the mid-6th century AD, a community that rapidly embraced Christianity. This period was followed by the Byzantine and Ottoman Empire eras, before becoming the small Turkish town of Kale, which was then renamed in 2005 to Demri. So we've come down the stairs, and this is a different section of the theatre. It's just completely intriguing. Reaping the benefits of fertile soil and thus agriculture, the city underwent considerable development in the 2nd century AD and was named the capital of Lycia in the 5th century AD. In 542 to 543 AD, Myra lost a third of its population to a plague that swept through Anatolia. Floods, earthquakes, being conquered by Alexander the Great and eventually taken over by the Seljuk invaders, Myra was mostly abandoned by the 11th century AD. After visiting the Myra ruins, our next stop was the St. Nicholas Church, a short distance from the ancient city. At first, we were a little concerned that we would not be able to enter the church with all the restoration work that was underway, but fortunately we were able to enjoy this historic building too. Born in the ancient Lycia city of Patara, St. Nicholas was a popular bishop in the ancient city of Myra during the 4th century AD, where he lived his entire life, developing his teachings and spreading his fame, becoming known for his miracles and for his kindness, humility, and charitable nature, the latter of which was likely aided by the fact that he was left a wealthy young man after his parents died in the plague that swept through Anatolia, and all of which led to the legend of Santa Claus. His teachings spread beyond the Byzantine Empire in the 6th to the 11th centuries, and he later became the patron saint of Greece and Russia, as well as of children, sailors, merchants, scholars, those unjustly imprisoned, and travelers. An ancient Greek marble sarcophagus was used to bury St. Nicholas, visible in the church today, but disagreement surrounds the whereabouts of his actual remains. Apparently these were stolen by Italian merchants in 1087 AD during the confusion of the Seljuk invasion, and are now believed to be held in Bari, Italy, in the 11th century Basilica de San Nicola. However, Venetian sailors also claim to have taken the body. Afterwards, we had lunch at the very pleasant and popular Cache Beach before venturing to our next historic site back in Phoenicia. The last excursion of this particular road trip was to the ancient city of Limra, situated on the Limras River on the outskirts of Phoenicia. This is one of the oldest and most prosperous cities in the region of Lycia. It is believed to have been inhabited since the 5th century BC, while the 2nd and 3rd centuries BC were considered the Limra Golden Age, but was abandoned following the Arab raids in the 8th and 9th centuries AD. The lower city encompasses 2 separate walled areas. A gate leads to the first structure we saw, a stone podium and cenotaph to Gaius Caesar, although only the basic structure remains. A path then leads across a stream to the other walled area. So this is Lamio ruins. It's another ancient city, and this is the river that runs through it. It's pretty fast flowing. We weren't expecting this. This is just one section of the river. This is the other section of the river. This is the main section. I'll just pan around. Obviously it was an integral part of the ancient city. You can see most people are enjoying swimming in the river today. And come round. That's it. We tried to soak our feet in the stream that bubbles up from underneath the stone podium. Legend has it that if you can stay in the water for 5 minutes, it will add 50 years to your life. Well, it was so cold, we barely lasted a minute, and that was just soaking our feet. Our next road trip involved another overnight stay in Antalya, but no medical matters were involved on this occasion. This was a celebratory trip. We were off to the ancient city of Aspentos, about an hour's drive northeast of Antalya, for our night at the opera, performed in the ancient amphitheatre of Aspentos, built in 155 AD by the Greek architect Zenon. It was a fabulous performance of La Traviata in an absolutely stunning setting, a magical, albeit an early celebration for our upcoming 39th wedding anniversary. Definitely the most unique celebration we've enjoyed, and what wonderful memories to treasure. No wheelchair access here, that's for sure. My glasses are all fogged up. Thank you. So, for our 39th wedding anniversary, we decided to do something different. Attend an opera in an ancient amphitheatre in Aspentos. So we eventually found our seats, and this is the view from where we're seated. It's really a stunning setting. So 10 minutes to showtime. orchestra is all here practicing, and people are still filing in. Our last road trips of the summer were 2 shopping expeditions with Celine and Joe of Turquoise, the first to Antalya and the second to Marmaris, following which we stopped in at Göcek on our way back. Unfortunately, both trips were in terrible weather a few weeks apart, but we managed to get everything we needed, or rather, we got what was available in Turkey. As usual, the remainder of our items will return with us on our next trip to the US. Marmaris is about 300 kilometers west of Finiki. This was our first time we were all heading further west than Cash. After struggling to find parking in the town centre, we eventually opted to park at the Setur Marina Marmaris, one of the sister marinas to the marina in Finiki, and had found a bistro for lunch and a hot drink. A short walk along the waterfront and over a few little bridges got us into the main hub of chandleries lining the narrow streets, where we found just about everything we needed. It was definitely a breath of fresh air compared to the challenges of procuring yachting equipment in Finiki, although we had to visit every chandlery, as they each specialized in something different. The last shop we visited was like a candy store for cruisers, every size, strength and color of sheet and halyard one could imagine. However, the challenge for the day was finding our hotel. First, Google Maps took us in completely the wrong direction and miles out of our way. Then, when we eventually got accurate directions, we couldn't access the hotel by road due to all the pedestrian walkways. When we eventually did find it, it was a stone's throw from where we had originally parked the car in the marina, and we'd driven down a road that even had the hotel manager shaking his head in disbelief, because he had never seen a car in this particular area of the town, and was completely fascinated at how we'd got there. This, of course, had us in stitches, because we had been up and down every narrow street like we were stuck in a maze, and popped out on the waterfront in front of the Sunset Boutique Hotel where we were staying. Our next concern, however, was how on earth we were actually going to get out of the area in the morning. That was nonetheless a problem for another day, because we all needed a drink and something to eat by then. The following morning, after breakfast at the hotel, we managed to find our way back onto the main streets of the town, realizing we'd somehow driven through an opening in the barricades used to maintain the pedestrian walkways. No wonder the hotel manager was so amused. Sadly, though, the pouring rain ruined what would have been magnificent views of the bay, and meant we had to complete our shopping and return to Finiki in dismal weather again. To break up the journey, we stopped for a coffee and baked delight at Cafe West in Göcek. However, our break ended up being a lot longer than we had anticipated, forcing us to have another round of refreshments as the heavens opened and the torrential rain continued unabated for at least another hour. It's fair to say that most places in Göcek were closed up for the winter, and everywhere looked rather deserted. Of course, the miserable weather probably exacerbated the atmosphere. In the summer, it will probably be an entirely different experience, one we look forward to next year when we continue west to complete our circumnavigation, as well as continue to enjoy some Turkish delights along the Turquoise coast.